Cam here from PhoneDog.com, and the Lumia 640 was one of Microsoft's announcements at MWC back in March this year, and it came alongside another phone, the 640 XL. But as the name suggests, this is the non-extra large version of the latest budget-friendly smartphone from Microsoft, and it's actually rather good. It runs Windows Phone 8.1 with the Lumia Denim update, has a 5-inch screen and a quad-core processor, all in a phone which costs just over $100. Like almost every Lumia, the 640 has a completely black glass front surface with a more colourful removable plastic shell on the back. My model is the glossy cyan version, but you can get it in orange, white or matte black, if you'd rather have something that doesn't stand out as much. The corners are ever so slightly rounded to give it a more approachable aesthetic, and its rear is very glossy, but thankfully not slippery. Although you might want to carry around a cloth with you if you're particularly finicky about fingerprints. As always, the overall appeal of the design is its minimalism. There's the simple round hole for the speaker grill and the central placements of the camera and Microsoft logo on the back, not to mention the lack of permanent capacitive buttons on the front and the almost invisible earpiece and microphones. At 8.8mm thick, this is a pretty thin device and is easily manageable in one hand thanks to the convenient buttons placed on the right hand edge. These buttons give a nice click when pressed, although they do have a slightly spongy, weak feel. Interestingly, the edges seem to have an extra layer of plastic on them that's slightly darker and more translucent than the plastic on the back. This reminds me a lot of the finish on last year's 635. The only thing I will say is that the rear shell doesn't feel as tight-fitting as some other models. For a phone on the bottom end of the smartphone market, it's impressive to see a display with a pixel density of almost 300 ppi. At 294 pixels per inch, the resolution is high enough that distinguishing individual pixels is quite difficult. It's 720 by 1280 on a 5-inch IPS LCD panel. Although it's not going to compete with flagship screens, it's more than adequate for its price point. The fact that it takes up almost 70% of the front panel adds to its qualities, as does its clear black contrast. It's a colourful display too. Saying that, blacks often appear more as really dark blues, but you really forget all its minor shortcomings when you start playing games or watching content on it. Games are lively, although my eyes are used to looking at much sharper screens on higher end phones, and sometimes I did find some of the graphics a little fuzzy around the edges. When I remember back to the 635, this seems like a massive improvement. It's pretty bright too, providing you boost it all the way up to its highest brightness. To top it off, whites are generally crisp and don't come off as overly warm or cold. Its one biggest weakness for me is viewing angles. Although it's bright when looking at it head on, its reflective surface means it's difficult to see from an angle, especially if you're in a well-lit area. Unlike the XL, the 640 doesn't have Carl Zeiss branding on its camera lens. At 8 megapixels, it's plenty sharp enough to take good photos, and it's not too slow either. There's also the Lumia's camera software, which lets you set different functions like white balance to manual, and you can change it to suit your surroundings and scenery. I did sometimes struggle to get it to focus quickly, but end results are generally good. They might lack a little colour, contrast and depth, but they're sharp enough, and colours are natural and end results are hard to over-criticise. Sure, I might complain a little more if I got these results in a flagship phone, but in a low-end device, this is impressive. General usage is mostly trouble-free and smooth. Windows Phone has a strong reputation for performing as well on both high and low-end phones, and that reputation is still intact with the 640. There was the odd occasion, like when the phone was busy, that it showed signs of lag or stutter when switching between screens and apps, or scrolling through lists. But for the most part, it was quick and smooth. And it's no surprise, the ever-impressive Snapdragon 400 quad-core 1.2 GHz chip is what's powering the device, and alongside 1GB of RAM, it's plenty. The only times I noticed it being a little slow was mostly loading web content and games. Touchscreen responsiveness is good too. If there's one area of this device that's remarkably good, it's the battery life. Obviously this depends entirely on your usage, but with 2,500 mAh capacity, the removable battery might even get you past 2 days of moderate use on a single charge. With around 9 hours of video playback, this phone is super efficient, and has as much battery juice as a Galaxy S6. I have reservations about the quality of its loudspeaker. It can get loud enough, but quality leaves a lot to be desired. It's often fuzzy and unbalanced. As a wrap-up, Microsoft has done well releasing mid-low-end phones over the past couple of years. It cemented itself as a solid option for the budget-conscious smartphone buyer, or the first-time smartphone buyer. With the 640, that reputation is even stronger. This is an incredible phone for its price point. It performs admirably and is almost impossible to find compromises bad enough to try persuading you not to buy it. Right now in the UK, you can buy one for £130 unlocked. In the US, Cricket Wireless is selling it for $130, and T-Mobile will be selling it soon. If you're looking for a low-priced phone running Windows Phone, get the 640. It's fantastic. It's easy to use, reliable, smooth, and comes loaded with the latest version of the operating system. Of course, it will be upgradable to Windows 10 once that's out. I've been Cam. I'm at phonedog_Cam on Twitter. You can find me on there, follow me, tweet me, or just use the comment section down below. And don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe if you like our content. And I will see you again soon.